Okay, give it a second. Welcome to episode 45 of the Danso Pitch Podcast. I am your host, Charles Danso, joined by my co-host, Daniel. Daniel, how you feeling today?
I'm feeling great, man. Feeling great. It's a beautiful Saturday, and we in August, the last stretch of summer. So just enjoying the summer air while I can.
Exactly, yeah. As Daniel mentioned, guys, yes, we're recording this weekend, first weekend in August. The months are definitely flying by, so try to enjoy the summer as much as possible. We only got like a month to go, so let's make the best of it. So, whilst we're in the discussion of summer, an interesting topic I wanted to kind of highlight, as well as Daniel, for today's episode is regarding the alcohol industry, particularly the wine and spirits business industry. So, what does that basically mean? That means that as you basically see a lot of celebrities, Hollywood celebrities, athletes, just to name a few, like Sean Combs, Diddy, Rick Ross, Dwayne Wade, LeBron James, so many others. Those are just a few that have gotten into the wine and spirits industry, basically starting their own wine or alcohol tequila, basically brand or being a brand partner. Basically, like how you have Rick Ross for Belair Rosé. You have Diddy, that's 50% owner in Ciroc, and as well as his tequila company Deleon. These are just all just industries, particularly us kind of explaining to you guys how this industry works. An interesting fact for the audience: the global alcohol industry is projected to reach about 1,684 billion by 2025. A large contributor is that is by the millennial generation, that is between anywhere between your early 20s to about your mid 30s, approaching late 30s. These are the large consumers of the global alcohol industry brand. What does that basically mean? That doesn't mean that we're alcoholics, guys. It just basically means that we are the ones that are particular, are the main purchasers, because obviously we're the ones that usually go out when you go to brunch, when you go to, example, you travel, you're buying alcohol a lot of times. When you're going out, you want to go clubbing, you go to the local liquor store pregame before you guys go out. I've done it, I do it. So again, Daniel doesn't, I'm sure. So again, it's just really important to just highlight why the millennial generation, the large contributor of this. So in today's episode, basically what we want to highlight is how can you basically get into the wine and spirits industry? How can you start your own maybe local winery or local tequila store or something of that nature, where you just kind of sell it as a distributor and make a good profit. That industry in itself has grown rapidly, even during the pandemic. I feel like every liquor store around the block has been open even during the pandemic for the most part. So
Yeah,
it's just
it,
fun
it
time.
was deemed an essential business
Exactly.
during the pandemic.
Especially guys, yeah. I think anywhere you go, especially in America, they will say that the consumer will say that the alcohol industry is a essential business as well. So we'll highlight all that for you guys and many more. So let's just get into it. The first piece I want to highlight of today's episode is, how do you open a liquor store? There's basically almost 11 contributing factors. And Daniel will get into it. The first piece, for anyone that's listening, anybody that would like to learn more about this, how do you basically start your own liquor store, or basically become a partner in a liquor store chain, or whatever the case is. The first part is basically research that portion of your business. Where do you source products? How do you get funding to open this, and where do you plan to profit? And you have to have, the most important piece is a marketing, sales plan, and overall organization. So Daniel, just to kind of highlight in terms of what we kind of say, in terms of what do we mean by products? Obviously, yes, Dan, go ahead.
Yeah, like it's just like any other business, you would want to have a business plan per se in place, and that is inclusive of a marketing sales plan because, and this is going to be highlighted in all of the other 10 factors, but you want to know who your target audience is. That needs to be in the marketing plan. Where are you going to sell your liquor? Are you going to sell it at like a college town? Are you going to sell it in like certain neighborhoods? Like what, so just thinking about your target market, that needs to be included in your overall business plan. What type of entity you're going to have, and just general financing. You need to, I mean, because dollars speak, right? So you need to just have that financial analysis within your plan. Like, okay, how much am I gonna budget towards maybe leasing out this property, or am I gonna use an SBA loan? Am I gonna like do a line of credit? Like, have all of these things kind of in place, and we'll touch on these as we get later into the episode. But generally it starts with the research, as Charles said, and the overall plan of how you want this liquor store to function, right? Because there's different ways that you could kind of maneuver in this industry. Are you going to be a whole owner of the liquor store? Are you going to be a part owner? Is it going to be some kind of a partnership with another individual, or even an umbrella of a being a franchise owner, a store, being in the store of a franchise. So just different elements like that to take into consideration. But overall, you know it starts with a plan, just like any other business. You want to have the blueprint in place first before you start filling in the dots.
Yeah, and as Daniel touched on, just to kind of keep the flow going, the next piece, obviously, I want to highlight most important to what he just kind of emphasizes, actually finding a location, a la it be a
Mm.
physical location. So what does that basically mean for the audience? That means that you want to basically find a place that's your sales front. Where are your customers going to if you want to get into this type of business in the alcohol industry? Starting your own store where you sell, let's say, wine, you sell tequila, you sell, dark liquor, Hennessy, cognac, something of that nature. All that in one. You need to be in a neighborhood where there's a lot of traffic. Usually, what does that basically mean? That could either be a largely residential populated area or a commercial place. If you guys ever just look in a lot of the populated cities, especially like New York, more so a little bit New Jersey. If you're on the east, on the west coast in LA, if you're down south in Texas, a lot of places like that, Florida, you probably will see some type of liquor distribution in any of the corner that you turn to. That is not by coincidence. That is because usually store owners that operate a lot of these liquor stores will look for largely populated areas. Why? Because a lot more people are going to come into that store. So that's very important. You also want to highlight the neighborhood that you're in. If you're in a very crime-ridden neighborhood, maybe you want to be wary of that in terms of whether to actually start a store over there. Usually that's why when you see a lot of stores, I'm just going to highlight New York because that's where me and Daniel are primarily based. You see a lot of times at night, some stores wouldn't even allow you to get into the store in the crime-ridden neighborhood. They will actually sell it out of like a glass casing or something
Yeah.
of that nature. And that is not by coincidence. That is because, again, you don't want to get robbed, lose money. So that's very important in terms of actually understanding where exactly you want to have this location. You want to hire a commercial real estate agent or use a commercial listing site like LoopNet. That's LOOP net, to order or find a location that fits your budget that will bring in the customers you're looking for. So that basically means, example, you can look online for any commercial real estate agent. An agent is good, and I always recommend that, much like a real estate agent. They give you a primarily case of listings. Usually all real estate agents have a listing where they showcase available properties in your area or around your area, or even if you're looking to expand outside of your state, they can also provide that for you depending where they're licensed. But also that allows you to see exactly which type of neighborhood that you can actually open a liquor store in, the budget that you can afford it at, because every different location is a lot more expensive. Example, if you live in Queens, and you want to open a place over there, it may be a little bit more affordable than if you're in Manhattan. The reason being is obviously Manhattan is a lot more commercial real estate. You have a lot more banks, businesses over there. So it's a lot more expensive. Somewhere like Queens is more of a residential area. A lot more homes are there, so it's a little bit cheaper, but it depends. Like I live in New Jersey, the property taxes are insane here. So if you're looking to open a liquor store over here, you may want to be more in a place that's more open, a more open area where it's not as largely condensed. If you live in North Jersey, good luck because those property taxes are going to be insane. But your real estate agent, commercial real estate agent, will provide this for you. Example, as I highlighted as well, LoopNet is another option for you if you're looking to, just looking at properties overall. So I just want to get into understanding the legal component of that. I'll let Daniel explain more into that. Yeah, go ahead, Dan.
And just to kind of highlight another piece on location, when you choose an area that you're gonna operate your liquor store in, whether it's gonna be just kind of like the average liquor store you would see like on the corner of the block, or it's gonna be like kind of a branded liquor store like a wine and spirits, the area that you are gonna operate your business in is important to consider how you're going to uh fraction your pricing. So, because you're gonna have competitors, right? Like just in Queens alone, I can count the number of delis that are just in my neighborhood, right? Like there's at least a good like 10 just in the general area that I'm in. So, thinking about that positioning of okay, like this person down the block is charging XYZ for Ray and nephew. I should probably be on or around that mark, right? Because, you always want to be at the break even mark and then exceed it, right? Because you want to stay in the black. So just having those things to consider too, like, it's, and this generally goes into the whole marketing and sales plan that you'll do, but your location will determine what you can charge and what you can't charge in that general neighborhood. Like Charles mentioned in Manhattan, if you're deciding to go to Manhattan, obviously the price for your liquor is going to be a little bit higher than if you were to build a place in like Brooklyn. So just having those things to consider also, it sounds like it's very common knowledge, but you'd be surprised on how overlooked something like that could be when deciding on a location.
Yeah, that's a great point, Daniel. As you mentioned, I think even that was something that I didn't even remember. So thank you for highlighting that. It is very important to understand where exactly, how you're going to price it based on the location that you're at. Like you said, a lot more places, having more other businesses that are surrounding the area that can kind of give you a gauge in price. Like an example, like I mentioned, if you live in an area that is closer to maybe New York, like you live in North Jersey, you're probably going to have liquor prices a little bit more jumped up. The reason being is obviously you're closer to New York, number one. Number two, the convenience, if you're around an area that you can get easily transportation into. A lot more businesses are around. Usually, the mindset as a business owner over there is, well, they must have a little bit more money over here because of the fact that they have a lot more businesses over here. When you have investment banks, big businesses like that, that's usually where you see a little bit more expensive liquor prices. So as a business owner, that's important to note. And the next piece of it as well is the legal aspect of running a liquor business. You have to protect both yourself and the store in an event of any legal issues. That is in case of, let's say there's flooding, maybe depending where you are, hurricanes. If you live in Florida, you definitely want to have flood insurance somewhere like around that area. Live in like New Orleans, obviously, that is another area that always gets hurricanes, unfortunately, or something happens with flooding. New Jersey, even sometimes, you could get hit with flooding depending where you are, especially when it rains really heavy. So you want to make sure you have insurance that protects your business. Looting, if somebody comes, destroys your property, burns your building by accidents happen, arsonists happen. So many things could be a contributing factor. So you want to make sure you're protected in that regard, having the right insurance for that also. Um, Employee injury. If something is to happen, let's say you have employees, maybe one person is trying to, pick up boxes, liquor cases for you, bring it in. Let's say he didn't see the caution wet floor sign. Maybe he knocks into it, falls, breaks his back, his leg. We hope it doesn't happen, but but
Shit could happen.
it happens. Exactly.
Business.
Yeah.
Yep.
So it's important that you're protected. Make sure the business is protected. Now, what does that look like? That usually means that is it a certain payout the guy would receive if that was to happen, and depending how much could your business kind of contribute. This is also important having the right lawyer in place to draw up these contracts that your employees sign. So that's very important. Also, Daniel mentioned something very important for the audience. If you're thinking about opening a liquor store and you're looking to do it with multiple people, you also want to establish your business based on if you're doing it with as a general partnership. That's when it's run and operated by two or more people. That's standard general partnership is GP. If you are a sole proprietor, as in you run the business yourself, you're the sole owner, you have the capital, congratulations. Maybe you hit the lottery, you're like, hey, I want to open a liquor business. Okay, great. You saved up enough money to start it. Great. But you want to make sure that you're incorporating your business in the right place, because again, you don't want to incorporate your business, let's say as a sole proprietor, but you have two or more people that are owners in the business as well. A lot of people don't understand that, and you end up paying a lot more in taxes, or you end up owing a lot in taxes as a result. So having the right lawyer in place, contract lawyer, also having the right accountant in place. I think a lot of times people feel like I'm giving more money out for a lot of these legal and accountant people, and I don't really use them as much. You should be incorporating your business using the right lawyers or attorneys as well as accountants. It doesn't matter how much you're spending, because in the long run, you end up actually saving by having the right individual that can give you the right information. So when you are incorporating your business, when you are filing for your business, every year you have to file, even when your business doesn't make money. A lot of people don't know that either. Even if a year where your business doesn't make money, if your business is active, then you still have to file taxes every end of the year. So you want to make sure you have the right individuals in place where they're able to give you the right information, do it rightly for you, look over the right contracts, draw up the right contracts, like I mentioned, employees, whoever that you're going in business with. Let's say you're doing it with another partner. How much is he or she liable to receive in terms of proceeds or whatever, money or capital that's going in and out the business. So that's very important, like I mentioned. I think that kind of ties in with what I also wanted to highlight. Daniel, I'll bring you in on here. Also, explaining how to separate your personal banking from your business banking. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, you so definitely to what Charles said, in regards to taxes, you definitely have to have an accountant that's like non-negotiable, because it's either you're going to consult with him or the IRS is going to consult with you. So, I choose the former on that one. Accountants can be expensive, but when you consider all the factors, especially when it comes to having your accounts separated, and this is like really important, because you want to have your business account strictly for the business, right? Like all of your profits will go into that account. You can set it up with any type of bank, whether you want to do a regular commercial bank or an online bank, it's totally up to you. But it definitely needs to be the type of account that is clearly separate from you as an individual, right? So, if your business account is with like Chase, your personal account needs to be with like Bank of America, or like there needs to be a clear delineation, and you can't really mix your funds together, because then that gets messy, right? Because also you do tax write-offs in some of your business expenditures, so you want to just ensure that the accounts are separate in that order. And the reason for that also is one of the reasons is because, when you have a business account, you have the option of opening up a line of credit. And, and this is where your accountant comes into play a lot, because if you do a line of credit, and Charles, I'll bring you in on this, it allows you to, use OPM, which is other people's money, in order to fund your business expenditures that you would need to do. And there's a lot that needs to be done when opening up, a liquor license, a liquor store. The first being that you need property, right? So, you know, and that's going to probably be the bulk of your expenditures, actually acquiring, the asset or leasing the asset that you're going to, have to run your business. And then you have to get your actual inventory. So, as two big purchase items, when it comes to, using, OPM, I think that this is, I think, there's different options you could do. You could do an SBA loan. You know, loans typically, it's very, I would consider them a last resort. Bootstrapping is usually the first avenue that, someone who's opening up a business would go down. And bootstrapping pretty much is you using your own money, using family's money, whatever you have on hand to put down. And then you would proceed to, using OPM, which is other people's money. And a line of credit is one avenue that, could be very advantageous for you if you choose that route.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree, Daniel. And in terms of looking at those type of options, especially like you said, using other people's money. The reason why is because a lot of times for the audience, especially watching this, it's important to understand as a business owner, a business operator, and I and Daniel, I'm sure you can attest to this as well, running our business, is understanding that a lot of times you're going to have to early on use your personal money. But the problem with that is, again, if something was to happen, we don't know. Example, like let's say something happens dealing with your personal lives or something like that. You just want to have something that separates you, your personal spending from your business. And that's really important, especially come tax time, because your accountant is going to come to you, ladies and gentlemen listening, and at the end of the year, much like when you're filing for your personal, he'll say, "Do you have a business? Do you happen to operate a business?" If you guys have ever went to an accountant, he or she has asked you this, and there's a reason for that, because a lot of times, and obviously, a lot of people are not going to read the tax code because it's like a 700 and some page coding that the IRS kind of posts. And for anybody that did accounting, obviously, accountants know accounting is boring, but it's needed. It's essential. That's why it's very important. So,
Yep.
Again, one of the important things of the tax code that the IRS updates every year, and it also includes business taxes and how much you can actually save in your personal taxes by having a business operating as its own individual entity. That's why when Daniel says make sure to have a business account and an individual account, the business account, much like your individual account, you ever notice why every bank gives you tax statements? Because a lot of times you can use these tax statements in case you need to, make the credibility of your business legitimate. What does that basically mean? That means that every time the end of the year happens, when, it's before April 15th, when the new year starts, when tax season happens, which is what, end of January, around that time is when they
Yeah,
usually,
around there.
right? Yeah. So between those, that 4 to 5 month period, a lot of times you're going to start filing your taxes. So when you go and then you speak to your accountant, you need to file a lot of times an individual tax return for your business as a business owner. And a lot of times I'm going to give you guys a little quick breakdown. This is where tax write-offs come into play. What does that mean? That means that if you have a business, a lot of times, let's say that you run a liquor business, and we're speaking about that. Let's say that you have your car, you use that to drive to meet with warehouse distributors. These are the people that basically have the different cases of alcohol that you're going to purchase yourselves and bring to your personal liquor store. You go, you make that drive, the gas, the mileage that you're using, all of that, you can write that off. You make itemized deductions, and these deductions at the end of the year, you're kind of gonna go, oh, you went from Queens to the Bronx warehouse to get this liquor store. Okay, check. You can write this off. You use this to meet with a potential client that's interested in coming in with your business for the liquor store. Okay, you can write this off. You can write this off. All of these helps you save money. And why do you want to save money? One reason is because you can use your business money that you end up receiving in your tax return to get more inventory. That's how you do it. And the second thing is you want to save more money for your personal expenditures as well. The money that you were using, you get a bigger return. So you can use that return if you want to, do whatever you want to. Let's say you want to take a vacation. Maybe you need an extra $1,400. You can use that because, again, you were able to get a larger return through your business dealings. That's how wealthy people do it. Another thing I wanted to highlight, and Daniel, I'll bring you in as well on this, is using other people's money. There's no issue with using other people's money, boys and girls listening. You want to use other people's money. Why do you think the wealthy people why do you think when Jeff Bezos went to space, just to get a little bit off topic, he said, thank you, Amazon customers and employees, because he was using your money, all our money, to go into space. He wasn't using his personal money. But remember, he was the CEO and founder of Amazon. He's still on the board for Amazon. So the money that he was acquiescing through his business, Amazon, he was using that to fund his other business venture, which is the space exploration Blue Origin that he's founded as well. That's how you do it. That's a form of using other people's money. Now, Daniel made a good point. Yes, when you are taking out loans, it's important to have a keen understanding of the interest you're going to pay. Because again, if you're taking out a loan, a lot of times those interest rates, depending on whether you're using a lender or a bank, they can get high. They can be anywhere from 21% and up. A lot of times you could pay as much as 35% APR. That's adjusted payment rate, which is very high for those that don't know.
Yeah.
So that could separate, let's say that you took out $1,000 loan, you can end up paying back anywhere from $5,000 to $6,000 off of $1,000 loan, off of a 35% APR. That's very important. But having a great credit, this is why you have a business credit separate from your personal credit. Both credits should be good, but you also have a lot of people don't know your business has its own credit as well.
Mm-hmm.
If your business does well, when you're doing great in revenue, you don't owe any taxes against your business. You don't owe any loans from your business. If your credit is your business credit is great, a lot of times, a lot of banks will come to you and say, "We'll give you this money, and then we'll adjust this rate for you because your business credit is so great. You're making so much money." That's why a lot of wealthy people, successful people, take out loans. That's why. Look, this guy's an idiot, Donald Trump, but he takes out loans because he has that money, the capital to back it up. He may not do the shit legitimately, but as a real estate guy, he takes out loans. But there's a reason for that, because at the end of the day, he's not using his money. But this is why it's important to understand credit, having the right credit understanding, how to utilize credit, leverage that. We'll have a separate discussion on that, and Daniel will come in on that on another day. But what we just want to kind of just give you guys the blueprint of is understanding is you want to use other people's money, but you want to do it right in a way that you're not hindering yourself or your business.
Yep. Exactly. And that's like a beautiful kind of way to tie that up in a bow, because it's really two options you have for financing. It's either you finance it yourself or you finance it with OPM. There's really no other options when it comes to, having that capital to um, invest in your business expenditures. So yeah, like your business credit, it goes a long way. Very akin to personal credit. If you have a good, if for those of you that have good credit, you probably get like all these kind of offers in the mail, like, hey, like we can do this for you. Hey, we'll give you this deal for this credit card. All that, right? Same concept for your business line, for your business credit. If your business credit is good, banks will come to you, give you deals. You can negotiate. There's refinance options for, let's say you already have a loan against, with a bank. The interest rate is not ideal, but business credit is, very like, as the months progress, business credit is good and increasing incrementally. Boom, you're gonna get hit with an alternative to renegotiate whatever SBA contract you had with the bank or with your creditor. So just keeping those things in mind, like the business credit more or less would work the same way in terms of the rules of making your timely payments and making sure that your business credit is up to par so that you can get the best deal possible,
It's
because
very important. Yeah,
yep.
very important. As he's mentioned, to pay your loan on time. Whatever expenditures, whatever credit card debt, always pay it on time. Look, even if after it, let's say you're like, I don't want to pay this right now because I'm gonna be only $100 in my bank account. Pay it anyway. Trust me. From a guy that's done it and learned the hard way, and I'm telling the audience right now, always pay your bills that you owe, your credit card debt, your loan debt on time. It doesn't matter whether you don't have the money right now, just pay it, because at the back end, you're going to feel so much better. Your credit is going to feel so much better. Creditors are going to want to work with you. This is where refinancing comes into option. Sometimes you can be halfway through it and you're like, fuck. Like, I'm paying like almost $200 extra, but you can call up the bank that you took the loan from, say, hey, right now, I'm dealing with this personal shit, but you can see my credit history. I've always paid you guys on time, this and that. Sometimes they'll even work with you. They'll say, you know what? We get it. Shit happens. You know what? Instead of you paying an extra 200 in interest, we're going to take it down to just 50 a month. Does that work? Sometimes they may even say, okay, instead of you having to pay this month, let's move it to the back end. Let's move it to the next month for you. So at least it gives you some time. But this all happens is, remember, it's like a resume. If your resume looks good, a lot more people want to give you interviews, right? If you have the right keywords, the key terms, it's just like credit. It's like if you're paying your stuff on time, you have your transcript is good, then people will know, okay, he has what I can believe that I can work with this person. So always pay your stuff on time, as Daniel said. That we can't stress that enough to you. Pay your stuff on time and make sure that you never, 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 never take more than you can chew.
Yep.
Very important.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Don't spread yourself too thin.
Correct.
Especially when, and in this industry of, wine and spirits, opening up a liquor store, it really is that game of, one move at a time, one store at a time, and, in going along with kind of our steps here, you want to make sure that for that one store that you're opening up and that you're doing that, you have all of the proper permits in place. Like you want to have all the licenses that you would need to sell alcohol. You want to just get them, right? Like even if it's an avenue where, like, okay, you know what, maybe because there's also foreign products as well. There's also foreign alcohol that gets imported. Just off the top of my head, because there's some things that you can't even get into the country, like what's the Hennessy, the white Hennessy, you can't get that into the country. That's like a foreign thing. So understanding what types of alcohol you can have in your store and what types you can't is very important.
Yeah.
um, and also, depending on the city, state rules that you're in, local law rules, you know the type of license that you'll have will differ, right? Because some licenses will permit you from selling alcohol on Sundays. Some licenses will, prevent your store from selling alcohol after a certain time. So these are all the factors to consider because, it's and it goes into a question of like, okay, why do some liquor stores close at 11, but why do some stores close at 9 and some are open until like 12? One could be in part because of the type of license that they have, that they're how long they're able to actually legally sell liquor for a certain time frame. And then other times people just probably don't care. They're just like, well, I can sell it till 10, but I'll extend it to 11 just so I could uh work that area out. But that's a gamble. Most of the time you want to stick within kind of the rules, right? And Charles, I'll bring you in on this to get the specifics, but generally every permit has, think about it kind of like a, bullet points to follow, right? Like you have these are the type of liquors that you can sell. These are the times that you can be open for business. And obviously, these are, I mean, this is common knowledge, but you'd be surprised. You can only sell to, you know, this type of demographic, a la people who are 21, legitimate IDs, having, a system in place to identify fake IDs, because we've all been to college, or, most of us, we've all tried to sneak into a liquor store here and there with a fake ID. There's actual, like, rules around having kind of a detection system for fake IDs so that you don't sell to someone underage. So thinking about those considerations as well when you're acquiring your permits and your licenses to sell alcohol, as well as the building too. The building needs permits too, in order to actually sell alcohol out of the establishment. So just
Yeah.
yep.
Yeah, and and again, as Daniel has highlighted, there I'm not gonna expand more so on it because at the end of the day he's given a good understanding of that for the audience that's listening. But again, it's very important to understand that yes, number one, you need to have a license to sell alcohol in any state that you're in. You have to have a license to sell alcohol. If you do not have a license, you can face a 10,000 and up dollar fine for selling without an actual license. Now, each license varies depending on state. The reason being is number one, like he mentioned, is really based on what they allow you to. Some states sell for a longer period of time in terms of throughout the day. Like you said, somewhere in New York, maybe they may go to 12 o'clock. But if you live in like Arizona, they may close at like 8. Uh, why is that? Maybe because they're like, you know what, New York never sleeps. So maybe like, people are always coming in and out of parties, clubs, restaurants. So maybe they may want to just get alcohol and say, you know what, let's just continue to party. Let's go out, whatever the case is. Some people literally live above a club in the city. So it's like, those are all factors that to just be cautionary of also. Also, like he mentioned, um, you also need to get a license to sell to the actual age. Here in New York, I know it's 21. New Jersey's 21. I think pretty much most of the 50 states should be 21. If I'm wrong, apologies. You can correct me on that, Daniel. But again, uh, it's very important to have that. Why is that? Because you can also face a very hard fine for also selling um, to a person that's under the age of what your state and federal require you to sell alcohol under. So that's why a lot of times when you go to liquor stores, you may not really see it nowadays, but before, back in the day, when you go see Ak and all those people,
Yeah.
that's so even with that, when you wanted to get Dutches and all that, another thing I want to add in is you need a separate license to sell tobacco, even to sell wraps and all that. Stores as well as wine and spirit stores need all of these factors. Up here in New Jersey, I don't really see it, but when you go down further south, you go to a liquor store. They're also selling like cigars, blunts, all that in some of those stores. You need separate licenses for that as well, believe it or not. And those fees are different, variations in that. Now, remember, guys, for the audience listening, If you do not have the right license in place to sell the alcohol, if it's wine, tequila, champagne, you need a license for as well. A lot of people don't know that. All of that, you can face a fine of 10,000 minimum and up. So why put yourself in that? Don't give the state and the government more money than what you're already having to pay through taxes. Just get the license in place. If you don't have the license, don't open the store yet. Don't even take the chance, because a lot of times they have inspectors come in at random times. Anybody that doesn't know this, ask anybody that runs a restaurant, a store. They have people that come in on purpose to check these things. Do you have all the licenses in place? That's why when you go get a haircut, your barber should have a license at wherever he or she is stationed, or beautician, that they have a license in front of their station. That's not by coincidence. That's because they know that when an inspector comes in, they're looking to see, do you have the right permit? Do you have the right permit to work out of this place? You have to have a permit to in the building that you're leasing, or if you're buying. Some people have the money to buy it, so they'll actually buy the property. But a lot of store owners usually lease the building that they have, because again, stuff happens. You may not want to be there forever. You may want to expand, like you said. You want to franchise your business, your liquor store chains. So you may lease different buildings. But whoever you're paying your rent to every month, you need a license to operate out of that individual's building or property as well. You need all these licenses in place before you even can sell the liquor out of your store. Business owners or business owners looking to start a wine and liquor store, make sure that you have your licenses before you start. Because if you don't and you get caught, you will have to pay a very big fine. Some places even you may do jail time, depending on what happens after the fact. Let me give you an example. Emily comes in and she buys alcohol. You allow her to buy when she was 17 or 18 with a fake ID. You said whatever, you just try to make money, so you didn't care. She looked a little bit older, so you sold it to her. She drank it, got drunk, got behind the wheel, and God forbid she hit somebody, the person dies. She gets in trouble with the law. They take a breathalyzer. Who sold this to you? She doesn't want to say it. Your parents give her pressure. The cops give her pressure. They say your establishment did it. You think the cops care that, oh, you didn't know she was 17, 18? The point is that you should have had the system in place, like Daniel said, to make sure you check these fake IDs, and you didn't care. So you may be possibly facing jail time for distributing to a minor. These are all factors you have to have in place before you even jump off the ground. That's business, guys.
Yeah, better to be safe than sorry, as the old saying goes. And this goes back to positioning, that we talked about earlier with your location. This whole the scenario that Charles just mentioned, that typically, if your establishment is within like a college town, then you will have to worry about fake IDs more so, and you would be, hopefully more prepared to identify those kind of outliers where, you have people coming in trying to buy liquor when they are not of age, right? But also, even if you're not at a college town, even if you're in some like a residential neighborhood that's pretty quiet, you just, it could be just, a couple of, retired people walking around coming in your store. It could still happen, right? It could still happen anywhere. So don't let the location kind of determine the type of precautions you have to take. You have to always assume the worst case scenario, but expect the best, right? So, that's just kind of a highlight for that stuff, and kind of transitioning into how all of this kind of identifies with your liquor brand, because the type of liquor that you will give to your customers, the way you treat them as they're buying liquor, and how you want to just maneuver your business overall. Once you have all of these things in place, you have your licenses, you found a place, right? You have um you have your system of, okay, I'm gonna get this amount of employees, I'm gonna have this supply chain, because also you have to think about your suppliers, right? How are you gonna get your liquor inventoried? How are you gonna stock these brands, right? Because not all warehouses are created equal, right? Like, you can have a supplier that may only distribute wine, and you have to find spirit somewhere else, right? Maybe some warehouse suppliers don't have tequila in their inventory. They maybe only have cognac. So, just different scenarios like that. You may have to have multiple supply chain networks in place for your store in order to get all of the liquor that you have the license to sell. So, just keeping that in
Also,
mind as well.
also very important that, just to add on to what Daniel's mentioned, if you are interested in getting into the wine and spirits industry, a lot of times when you go into a lot of these warehouses, wholesalers of the distributed brands that you want to sell, let's say you want to sell wine, you may actually have to, you can pay a cheaper price because wine isn't as potent as you buy Hennessy. If you want to buy cases of Hennessy, that could be a $300 to $400 difference from when you're buying wine. So it's also important to understand this. If you want to do both, hey, we're saying go all for it. But you really got to understand the inventory that you're selling in your stores, because this is the capital that you're going to need to raise to buy these things. When you're, a lot of times people don't understand, when you're buying actual tequila, dark liquor, that's more expensive by the case than wine a lot of times, because again, the potency, also the wholesalers, because the wholesalers themselves have to go to, what does that mean? So whatever wholesale you're going to, they have to go to the one guy that goes to LVMH, who owns Hennessy, to give them an okay to sell to the wholesale, to sell it to you. So what does that mean? Everybody has to get a cut of profit. So that's the chain that is going down under. So that's very important to understand. That's why brand protection is very important, guys. Because it's not, a lot of people think that, oh, the liquor store that they're going to, they're the ones that's distributing it out and saying, here, buy Hennessy, this and that. No, no, no. It doesn't work like that. They're going to the warehouse that's going to the distributor, that's going to LVMH and Hennessy, that's giving them the okay to sell through these stores that you're going to buy your local liquor store, you're going to buy these. So that's very important to know. So if you are wanting to get into this business, you really got to know the different products you're looking to sell. That's why some stores you just see they sell strictly wine, or they sell strictly just spirits. That isn't by coincidence. That's just because they're like, hey, why am I going to have to pay $300-400 extra dollars by the case to get dark liquor in here when I could just buy wine and save more profit? Or vice versa, whatever case you want to do. Some people take it and say, hey, I'll make the money on the back end anyway, so I end up buying all of it in one. This is all important to understand when you're getting into this type of business. Then,
Yeah, and what helps with kind of getting those elements in place as well. Like, if you do decide to go the wine route versus the spirit route, or if you're doing the hybrid, establishing that early on with like a website, for example, is really something that's gonna, I would say, different. So now we're getting kind of into like the marketing aspect, right? We've talked about how you need to have the blueprint for opening up your liquor store. We talked about some of the legal actions you have to take and some of the insurances that you have to take, not only with the building, but also personal insurance, making sure you have all of the licenses and stuff like that. So now, getting kind of into just the general marketing of your brand, your liquor store, having a website is very beneficial. Even like in Queens, I go to the liquor store down the road. I mean, some of them don't really have websites. It's just a liquor store, and literally the sign is liquor store. So it really depends on how you want to position yourself. If you want to fall into the category of just, it's just another liquor store down the block, that works too. I think it may be more beneficial to have yourself a little differentiated. I've been to some stores that they have a, kind of like it's just a name. It may not mean anything. It could be, Dan's Liquor, just something that's very unique to the business, unique to the brand, and that makes it a little bit more exclusive, right? Because and this is just more of a marketing psychological thing. When we go into a store that seems a little bit, bougie, for lack of a better word.
Just
It just looks nice. We walk in there, we're like, you know what, yeah, they got some nice stuff in here. I think I'm gonna buy, they have wine samplers sometimes if you go into liquor stores, especially like kind of the bigger ones. You might see like a wine tasting section within the store. If they have a new inventory, there'll be like a little sample thing. All of those things take into consideration. Put it on your website. Have a social media platform for your business. I think generally, like wine and spirits. I mean, they're everywhere, right? Like it's a pretty saturated market in terms of how you could differentiate yourself, because everybody's there's stores all over the place that's selling liquor. So you really have to put yourself in a position where you stand out in order to really get the customers, right? So that that falls into aesthetics, with website, with how you're going to design your overall interior of the building. Also depends on the type of building you get too, because the more space that you have, the more that you could do. I've seen liquor stores. I walk in there, I see like a fountain. Like I see crazy. There's a lot of things that I've seen in some of these liquor stores, and this was more like upstate, not really in Queens. But I say that to say, location will determine what you can do. The building structure and the interior will determine how you can make the interior aesthetically pleasing for your customers, because then referrals happen and then they'll bring more customers to your business. So having a website, having a customer service platform in place, your staff, who are going to be the because they're the face of the liquor store, right? The person at the front desk who either who does the tally for the alcohol that the customer purchases, or you have a wine slash spirit expert who like shows you around the store and points you to some of the bottles that are available. Sometimes they even educate you. I've been to some liquor stores where they have a wine expert who's just he's probably just stocking some of the brand names, and I'd ask him a question. Hey, do you have like some wine from Italy? And then they'll start giving me a little education on just how to nothing crazy, but just some of those little details are things that maybe you should consider when hiring staff, when having the aesthetics, because you never know how far that could go when it comes to your customers coming into the liquor store. Because a liquor store could just be a liquor store, but why not have it be the place to go, right? Everybody has a go-to. Everybody, if you're in any line of business where you have a storefront, every person has a designated barbershop that they go to. If you're a woman, you have a designated hair spot that you go to. If you get nails done, you have a designated nail spot that you go to. So why not be the designated liquor store that people go to?
exactly, and I want to keep it on the website. I hear everything that you're saying, Daniel, but I also want to keep it on the website for the audience, because there are many great factors to having a website, especially in the era that we're in. For the audience that's listening in, especially operating a business, especially in this era, is very important through the social media, the website realm. Because look at the top companies. You have Walmart, Amazon, so many others, Facebook. A lot of these are technology-based companies, e-commerce businesses, and a lot of their customers have now transitioned from the brick and mortar process to being online shoppers, online critics, even to some aspect. That's very important. So having a wine and spirits store, having the website is now the sales front for a lot of your customers. Remember what I said to start this whole episode. The millennial generation, our generation, myself, Daniel's generation, is the generation right now that is the prominent or the dominant, factors in shopping in various industries, not even just wine and spirits, but to keep it in wine and spirits, it's important. And the type of shoppers that we are, we're technologically lazy individuals. What does that mean? It means that we would rather sit at a computer, go through each and every component and say, okay, I like what this person's saying. I like what this winery, the rating on this wine. I'll order it, and then I'll, to have it delivered, or I'll order it to pick up, much like you do food or clothing, right? So it's very important. That's why having a website, especially now, getting into the alcohol industry is important, because one, you give people a variety of things to look at. Let's say you just own a wine store. You have different options, but in doing so, going to the website, you also have your customers leave a review. This is why having reviews, testimonials, what this person liked about this wine, what this person liked about this other wine. Maybe it had a lighter taste to it. Maybe they didn't like how the fruits were mixed in. These are important. A lot of people may be listening and saying, what the hell is Charles talking about right now? But this is important, especially for anyone that's drank alcohol or wine, even to some aspect, right, Daniel? Some wines taste a little bit more lighter than others. Some a little bit more potent. Some have a sweet taste to it. Some have a little bit, especially if you taste a Cabernet, it has a very strong taste to it. Mm-hmm. So these are all important factors when you're going to the website, because these are reviews that clients are leaving, former customers or present customers. So if you're going on that website, maybe that store website, and then you're looking at it, and then maybe you like what this person said, maybe because that's your preference, your taste preference. These are all important. And as a store owner, that's good for you, because a lot of times that allows you to say, okay, maybe I'll push this wine to the front when this customer walks in the store when they order. They don't do that by coincidence. If you ever go to a liquor store, it's not a coincidence that the Hennessy and all that is usually towards the front or in an area by where the cashier is. That it's not just because it's a little bit more pricey. No, it's because they know a lot more people purchase that. A lot more people purchase the champagnes. That's why usually when you see the better wines, when you go to certain stores, they purposely put it. It seems like it's more displayed than certain other wines. That's done on purpose, guys. All this is marketing, but a website shows you that, because a website brings you to it to say, okay, this is what this person is talking about. This is what they dislike about it, or even something that you already like and you just want to order and pick it up. Because like I said, we're in a generation now where we don't have to literally go into the store. We can just go online, look at the brand, look at the selection of wine, the spirits, the alcohol that we want to purchase. We just order it to have it shipped to us, or we just go to the store to get it, to pick it up, and you just pay online. Now, some people that may be a little bit older, old schools, will say, well, I like having customers in there. Trust me, you're going to have customers come in regardless, because a lot of times human thinking is through word of mouth. If somebody says good about something, you're always going to have people come to that store. You're always going to have somebody come pick up that brand. Because let's say, Daniel, me and you going out, we're like, yo, let's go pick up some Hennessy. We're going to go to that store because, we know that they have Hennessy, regardless of what or somebody wrote about it. So regardless, you're still going to make the profit that you need. But the best thing about a business owner, the most successful businesses adapt in the era that they're in. So that's very important. Now I want to transition also, Daniel, to kind of start wrapping up this episode. Let's say that you don't want to be a store owner, but you want to get into the wine and spirits industry. What are some alternative options? Daniel and myself will go through it. Welcome, the stock market. Why do I love the stock market? Why do I love it? Why am I so passionate about the stock market? Because I can own a company and even liquor store without having to actually operate a company or a liquor store. I could just be a shareholder.
It's beautiful.
That's where the stock comes into play. Being in the stock market game allows you to own companies, actually vote on the managing members of a company, like you're a chairman yourself of the company, without having to actually operate the company. God damn, Daniel, don't you just love this world? I love it.
What a
So
time to be alive.
exactly. So some people will ask, what are some liquor companies, liquor store brands that you can invest in the stock market? Um, One of the most important ones is Diageo. I hope I said it right. And that's Diageo. On the New York Stock Exchange, the ticker symbol is DEO. They're headquartered in London for the audience, and is one of the world's second largest distiller and the largest liquor distributor. And they're in over 180 companies. Right now, they're trading currently on the stock market, ladies and gentlemen listening. What are some of the notable brands that this company owns? They own Johnny Walker, Crown Royal, Smirnoff, Bailey's, Kettle One, Captain Morgan, and so many others. Who owns Hennessy? LVMH is another company that you can go into. Ace of Spades, LVMH. God damn, I'm giving you guys the game right now. Daniel, come in, please.
Yep, you got there's so many, right? You have Brown Foreman, and that is a spirits and wines company. They're present in currently more than 170 countries, and their portfolio focuses on whiskey, vodka, and tequila. Some of their famous brands are Jack Daniels and El Jimador. That tequila stuff, right? And uh, Finlanda, which I've never had, but I've seen it and it's
Yeah,
fancy.
yeah.
And for some of the, and also, just to circle back on some of these, what these stocks are trading at, right? Charles mentioned Diago. Uh, Currently, that's trading at, it's up 24% for the year, right? That's up 24% of the year, which is really good considering, we're still in like pandemic phases. So, take some of these tickers into consideration. LVMH is up to, there's another brand, the Constellation brands, which are based in New York. They have over 100 different brands under its umbrella. A lot of notable ones are a High West whiskey. Those who are familiar with Svedka vodka, that was like the colorful vodka back in the day. That's also under the umbrella. Corona is under the umbrella, and they have notable wines also, including Robert Mondavi, which is really, and that's one of my personal favorite wines. And it's just a lot of other beers underneath the umbrella of Constellation Brands, and they're also up 0.95% for the year. So looking at some of these stocks, if this is, if you want to invest in the wine and spirits industry, these are some general stuff. There's a lot more out there too, but these are kind of like the big targets to look at, right? Like LVMH, big target. GEO, ticker symbol, up 24%, big target to look at, because it's also goes back to what are you interested in investing in, right? One of the first rules of investing is invest in something you care about. So if you don't, if you're just like a collector of all, then invest in all. If you have no preference of brands, but if you really want to be a part of like the Hennessy movement, or you want to, you really, really love like Captain Morgan, that's your liquor.
Rock,
Invest in the company,
rock.
Ciroc,
Rock, yeah, I forget. Yeah, Diego owns Ciroc. Like I mentioned that early on. Like as Daniel mentioned, like these are all great, great stocks to look at, and we're just giving you guys just 20% of the 80% that's still out there you can invest in, and these are only trading at $174, $198, $200. Now a lot more people could say, hey, that's really expensive, but it's not. Trust me, compared to some of the other stocks that's trading and how much Daniel mentioned that it's been up this year, it's only going to get higher, guys, as the world is opening back up. So take advantage of it now while we're still in pandemic reopening phase, as opposed to once we get our full pandemic phase, then you're going to start looking at a lot of these stocks trading at 400 or 500 even, because of the fact that this industry is growing so rapidly, so quickly. So take advantage of the opportunities, guys. Daniel mentioned it to you guys. There's so much out there. We giving you guys in this episode, Daniel, help me out. We've given them how to start their own liquor store and you know and distribute brands such as these. We've taught them how to actually be invested in the companies that distribute to these local store brands and companies. We've shown them the future. We've explained how the future of the alcohol industry is growing, and why so many celebrities, it seems like every day, is either investing in it, becoming a brand marketer of it, or starting their own thing. So these are all important factors that were named.
Oh
We just
man,
named you guys. We
and
gave you the
that's a whole
power
other.
of this game. Yeah, man. Go ahead, Daniel.
I was just gonna say that was a whole nother topic we didn't get to cover on how to be, a partner with a brand, like Diddy, how Diddy is partnered up. I believe it's Ciroc. How Rick Ross is like all of these different big players that partner up with brands. We that's just a whole nother topic that we would love to cover at another time. But just think about how you know in terms of wine and spirits, you have the actual storefront that you could do and you have the investing side, right? So there's two avenues that you could play here, and we've given you the blueprint for the first half of that. The second half, we'd love to touch on a later episode, but just remember the key things that we talked about when if you're interested in doing a storefront. And one other thing I want to highlight is, Charles mentioned it too, looking towards the future. Automation, your business is gonna have to automate itself, just like any other business. Just because it's a brick and mortar doesn't mean that you have to operate like it's brick and mortar businesses have operated in the past. No, you have to be a hybrid. You have to maneuver. Maybe that involves developing an app for the business, right? A liquor app that's very unique to your business. Maybe that involves we mentioned setting up deliveries for certain alcoholic beverages, having a system in place to facilitate that. Thinking outside the box when it comes to kind of the innovation of your business, because that's all gonna really make you stand out from the rest of the liquor stores that are in the location that you decide. So location, right? Location's a big one. Financing, big one. And protecting yourself and protecting your business, big one. Three key things, three key takeaways from operating a storefront. And despite the competitiveness of this industry and how saturated it is, there's a lot of money to be made. Charles mentioned earlier, over $100 billion in this industry, right? That's a lot of money. And we've talked mainly about operating domestically in the United States, but if you really make it big, if you really branch out and make this kind of global and try to have foreign, and this is a whole nother discussion, but just thinking about seeing the forest from the trees, how far can your liquor store really go in the grand scheme of things, right? So and I mean, there's just so many things. I'm not going. We're out of time on this podcast. Very exciting episode, but I hope that this was helpful for anyone who's interested in this. In the wine and spirits industry, whether it's opening up a storefront or it's investing in wine and spirits industry. I love the stocks. Thank you for tuning in. I'm Daniel. Your host Charles is here, and follow us on our social media platforms. We're on Spotify. We're on Apple Podcasts. This is going to be uploaded to our YouTube platform. And as we always say, if you want to come on the show, if you have industry knowledge in any business, like I said, this year we're branching out. We're talking about a lot of different topics that are inclusive and still are within the realm of increasing business acumen. So if you have knowledge in any industry, it doesn't matter what it is, right? Please come on the show. We'd love to have you. We can set it up. Just email us. You know, hit us up on Instagram. We'll set up a time, and we'll make it happen. So thank you for tuning in, Charles. Your final thoughts.
Yeah, definitely. As Daniel just kind of echoed, and I'm just piggybacking off of what he's saying, example, like he said, this episode was just giving you a different perspective of the type of businesses that you can get into. A lot of times people think that they have to start something new. You don't always have to start a new business. Sometimes you can get into a business that's already there and is doing pretty well. You just have to do it yourself. It's going to take a lot of hard work. It's going to take a lot of, some capital. It's going to take a lot of sleepless nights, but it's doable. We even gave you a perspective where you don't even have to start your own business. You can be an owner in a business or businesses that distribute to a lot of these companies we mentioned in terms of local liquor stores, brands, all that, through the stock market, just to give you a perspective. Um, Visit us. We're giving you guys this information. It takes a lot of our time, our work, but we love doing this for you guys because this is something that we're doing for ourselves, but we want to give this information to you as well so you guys can branch out, do other things, make a little extra money for yourselves, for your family, for people around you want to take care of, but maybe you might not be able to and you want to. These are ideas that we give, and that's why we start this podcast to give this information, give this game to you guys. So definitely follow us at the Danso Pitch. Come on this episode. I'm gonna start pulling people into this episodes if I have to, man, because I would love to just get different people on, just kind of share their stories, share the businesses that they're in. One thing I've learned with starting a business, guys, and I'm wrapping this up, a lot of your friends and family are in businesses or thinking about doing businesses that you may not even know. And in starting this podcast, and I'm sure Daniel can attest to this, we've learned so many people that are doing businesses but aren't even getting the exposure that they like. So that's why we have these platforms. We have these discussions. We promote on our personal pages for you guys so people can see that this is what this person does. This is what this person is interested in doing. Don't be afraid to ask, to come and speak with people that are already in this business. Running a business is hard, but it's doable. Trust me, each and every day, I love getting up and I love doing what I do. Like I told you guys in the previous episode, I love working on my business more than my own 9 to 5. I may love it equally with my girl. We don't know yet. But the point is, I love this shit. That's what I love to get up and do each and every day. I really do. So again, come on the Danso Pitch. Let's talk. Let's kick it. Let's share the vision that you have for yourself, your family on this episode. Follow us at the Danso Pitch. This episode will be exclusively on YouTube. Link will be in the description of this episode. And again, we look forward for you guys to subscribe, check out this episode. We will have a guest speaker that will come in the wine and spirits industry for you guys that can give you guys a more detailed explanation that we provided for today. But check this episode out. It will be available exclusively on YouTube. You guys take care. Enjoy the rest of your week, and we'll talk soon. Peace. Did we stop recording? Oh, shit. Now we